Wow, that was quick. That was extremely quick. For some reason, I thought it was longer, but that was really quick.
It was indeed.
I wasn't really prepared for it, but whatever.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Admit,
Good evening.
Betty, Michael. Anyone else
Michael.
lurking in the background?
Michael, how you doing, Michael? I did a little bit of a live earlier today just to kind of push this a little bit.
I saw. Well, I got the notification for it.
Hey Terry, how's it going? And yeah, and then I started doing a little bit of editing and going through some of the archive stuff, and what was really cool. Hey Tim, Tony, what's up? Tony. We need your address, buddy. Yeah. So just the street number we need. That's what we need. The street number. But anyways, what was I going on about? Yeah. I was going through some of the archive stuff and
found
found
stuff about us there a long time ago.
Found the raw footage for when we shot Nocturnal Night Shots episode 2.
This is before the white hair came in.
Yeah, this was what, 2012? Yeah, 2012, I think, something like that.
Fuck, we've known each other for a long time already. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Coming up on 20 years.
It's been a long time, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. I mean, that's why we're gray.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw it, Tony. I saw the email. So thank you. And he's gonna get back to us with a
that's fine. As soon as I have the address, Tony, I'll send you the shirt, or I'll
get on room you too. Yeah. Okay, Terry.
He's just jealous. He wants to join.
Yeah. I mean, I did actually find evidence. I found evidence. I found paranormal evidence. Believe it or not.
So did I.
I found paranormal evidence. Paranormal. I did. I found paranormal evidence.
Of what? Yeah, here I'm feeling something.
Huh?
Here I'm feeling something.
What are you feeling?
Oh, I got goosebumps all over now.
I got goosebumps all over now.
There's somebody here to show a sign of your presence. Need you to make a noise.
Wow. But
Please make a noise.
It didn't show. I mean, this is your camera angle. I got to find my camera angle. That shows you're walking around the room with the other camera, and then you're like, yeah, there's something about this room, man. Just I don't know what it is. It just got this really weird feeling in this room.
Could have been the burrito demon, Michael.
The burrito demon.
You heard a fart noise. Yeah.
But if you notice at the beginning of that clip, there's kind of this, I don't know, weird. I'd have to play the full clip.
Yeah.
Right. Oh well. Thank you, Betty. Thank you very much. Burrito. Betty. I call her Betty Burrito. Sorry. She says she's going to get a T-shirt when she gets some extra money. Well, thank you. And look at hey, Mr. Williams, how are you, sir?
Hello. Hey. Hello.
I hate to break it to you there, but you have UFOs behind you.
Yeah, wow, there's a discovery.
Oh my God.
Thanks. He's been overrun by the burrito demons.
Yeah.
Demons. So how have you been, Matt?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm experimenting with having my mic right in my face like this, like you guys do.
Yeah. You don't.
For the slightly bassier audio. No, I generally have it on hidden behind the camera, but I was listening back to some of my videos and I thought it does sound a bit room echoey. So I thought, well, I'll go for the full. Hi, I'm Steve Genier.
You've been pretty busy there, releasing some vids, but I noticed that a lot of them you've had for members only, and then all of a sudden released to the public and blah blah blah, whatever. But I mean, you've been out exploring quite a bit.
God, yeah, I've been out. Well, we've probably done about 15 videos in the last week or so.
Wow, wow, that one. What is it? It was the airbase. I think it was the airbase, not the airbase. Was it the airbase? No, which one did you've released so many. I'm just there were a couple of them were really cool.
Especially the helicopter museum.
Yeah, with the basement and everything. That was pretty cool.
Oh, it didn't have a basement.
No, what was the one that you had? You're with some other guy. I can't remember the other guy, and he was saying, there's nothing really in the basement. And you're like, oh, this is actually really cool. Why is he saying there's nothing down? This is pretty neat. Or maybe it wasn't a basement, but like a bottom floor sort of thing. He says there's really nothing down there.
Oh, you got me now. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
You got me.
It was pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, a few of them have been really cool. Actually, I did a live earlier just to kind of promote this, and Tom came on, and he was live from the Waverly Abbey Waverly, I think it's called. Oh, hold on, I can play it back. It's actually really neat. Let me just share it here. It's really, really cool. Where is it? Let's get this up here.
So am I sounding more bassy tonight than I usually do?
No, you sound fine.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah, you sound good.
I don't sound bassy. I'm not happy. Dear.
No, you don't. You sound fine. You sound good.
Get closer to the mic. It might work.
Oh, you're going to have me this close. Is that proper bass now?
Now it's bassy.
Now it's bassy. Okay, hang on then. I'm going to turn it up underneath the desk and turn the bass up.
The Waverly Abbey. Hold on, I'll share this now. It's actually, if you go and take a look at it, Alex, it is really, really cool.
I'm bringing it up now.
Okay.
Does that sound a bit more bassy now from that position?
It sounds a little better. Here's the place here, Waverly Abbey. There. Alive. I mean, is this a pretty large area?
Yeah, it's it says here this is managed and monitored by English Heritage, and it was the very first monastery founded in Britain by the reforming Cistercian religious order. Cistercian, I think it is. The abbey has been ruined for many years. It should say ruined there, or in ruin for many years. It's a beautiful but fragile, climbing the abbey walls, blah, blah, blah. So we'll go in and have a look around. Sorry to take over your...
That's okay. This ever since you mentioned this and I took a look at it, I'm like, wow, that's neat. It is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I won't read all that out. I'll just walk straight in.
Yeah.
If you want to see an overview, there's a little plan here which gives you what the drone is probably seeing right now. That's what it used to look like.
Oh, wow.
That's
massive. That's massive.
Founded in 1128 by William Gifford, Bishop of Winchester, from 1107 to 29.
Are you familiar with this place? 11th. Holy, wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll just walk around because there's a couple of other people here, but it's a little bit quiet as well. So my friend's just behind us with the drone.
Okay.
But yeah, he reckons there's loads of stories here of, strange occurrences. We came down once at night and it had definitely quite an atmosphere to it. We were taking photos with like a red filter.
I mean, you have to think the many years that place was in existence, in service or whatever, the amount of people that passed through there or and whatever else. I mean, it definitely has some stories to tell.
Yeah, for sure.
This part's
And
not to mention some residual sort of energies that probably play out.
Yeah.
Wow, that is
look at this.
That is so cool.
Thought you might appreciate that.
Yeah,
I just happened to see you going live, and I thought, oh, I'll jump in and share it with you.
That is so awesome. Wow. And for something like that to still be standing, wow, that's incredible. Just imagine seeing this place if it was still like, in prime. Wow.
You've just had a £50 donation, sir.
I think there's been I've forgotten the
Thank you very much.
film. It was the original.
Anyways, we'll get
UK zombie.
But that are you familiar with that place, Matt?
Not at all, no.
Oh wow, it's pretty
But all
neat.
I can say is Charlie Tango DX UK. Have you checked out the secret vault? Because I definitely need people like you over my channel.
Oh man, wow, yeah, that's really kind of you, Tony. Thank you very much. Yeah, so that was pretty neat. Tom popping into kind of give us a glimpse of that. So you're not familiar with that at all. Wow, we found a place that you're not familiar with.
No, I don't tend to go to sort of like wrecks, kind of, well, what do you call them?
Abandoned, like sort of not abandoned, but
what's the terminology? Sorry, my brain's yeah, things that aren't standing anymore.
Yeah. It's a shame, considering its age, like 11. I think what was it, 1123?
Nice vaulted ceiling still in there, but
I know, yeah.
Might be good to go back and do something like a sort of ghost thing there, or a satanic ritual or something.
Yeah, satanic ritual.
Yeah.
It was in the movie Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, right. Okay.
They actually shot an episode of Shaun of the Dead in there. Hey, Luke, how are you? Good to see you. And the Matrix breakers sun filtered. Hey, how's it going? Fridio Frog. Yeah, so anyways, Matt, tonight we're going to chat about kind of like Canadian sort of crop circles and that. But I mean, from your experience, obviously, in making crop circles and everything else, I mean, when we've looked into this, there's really not a lot Canadian content. I mean, there's a lot of kind of.
No, that's okay. Then I'll catch you all next week then.
Yeah. But I mean, like in comparison to say like the UK, I mean, the UK's got like crap loads of crop circles, and I mean, what let's say what a majority of them are what man-made, right? Pretty much.
Well, I think that all the complicated ones are man-made, and because I mean I pretty much know every circle that's out there every year. Used to, don't know now. I don't know who's quite doing them now. I've got an idea who's probably doing them, but when I was heavily involved in it, everybody knows who's doing what, and it wasn't really open to debate amongst me and my friends who used to make them. But you won't convince the public of that, but let people believe what they want to believe.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, it's like that in any sort of, area that you're going to get into that is kind of unknown. And, most people would say, well, look I don't care. You can't convince me that this isn't, paranormal or aliens that are, doing these, building these crop circles, right? But whatever.
Well, it doesn't mean that the paranormal is not there with the man-made circles. I've tried telling people this for a long time until he blew in the face. But, you know, people want it to be aliens. They don't want it to be humans. And yes, there are paranormal things connected with them. So if it works better for people to think that it's aliens or gods or the paranormal spirits, Mother Earth, then whatever works for them.
It's an interesting question here. Matt, you'd probably, obviously, you've kind of talked about this before, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had ideas popped into my head, which have been external and they're not things that I necessarily had planned. And then you sort of draw it, and you go out and do it in the fields, and people say that they've been meditating, waiting for this design to appear. So it's kind of like, is that telepathy? Or then you have other people say there's a big significance to do with the numbers and the things in there which weren't intended by the people that made the crop circle. So I think there is some influence there. People get the ideas pop into their heads, and you think it's your own idea. I mean, I got the impetus to go out one night about 11 o'clock. Didn't have a team, and then this idea popped in that I had to go make a crop circle. Didn't really know what crop circle, just thought I must go out and make a crop circle tonight. So I picked a very simple design which could be done with one person, went out, drove to an area where I thought there might be crop. You know, I wasn't sure, but I was like, oh, there's probably crop there. I could see a crop field then. And I thought, right, I'll get out, park the car, got out, went down, heard people nearby, started to make the design in the field, kept quiet because these people were very close, and found out that in the morning they said that they'd been there meditating on the design, and I'd come and done the design they were asking for, which was a 6-fold petal. It was like a 6-fold star sort of thing. And probably they were only about 200 to 400 feet away from me. You know, it was quite close. They were pretty close. I'd say 400, probably pushing it really. And I made this quietly next to them, and it was what they were asking for. So yes, there is this kind of influence there, but what I don't know is, was that coming from mind to mind, as in from their minds to my mind, or was this idea coming down from somewhere else to influence them on what design they wanted, and then to influence me to go out and do that design? So I don't know whether there's a sort of like there's an intermediate stage of something else upstairs, because I do believe there is something up there, but I don't know whether it's direct telepathy or whether we're going through this kind of the psychic switchboard or the aliens.
Yeah, I mean sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say that you may have said this in the past, but has any of this stuff come through into to you in dreams, or has it just been, you know, you're in an altered state maybe, and it just comes to you at that point?
No, I never had a sort of design pop in and then I wake up and think, oh, right, I must do that. It's literally as I'm drawing it, you get ideas pop in then. It's kind of like you start drawing and then you scrap something and then you sort of try it again and you go, no, and you scrap that one. But you're kind of seeing something forming, like an idea forming. And out of the ideas, you kind of end up picking something and then you think, oh, that really works. And then it's almost like an excitement. Writing. Yeah, it's like an excitement then starts where you're getting excited with your own creation. But is it your creation? That's the thing. It's kind of like you're getting excited for a reason. And that excitement of that design probably will excite others when they see it, you know? So
that's kind of like automatic writing.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of tuning your subconscious, I guess, for, you know, instead of your consciousness to whatever is out there and it's coming forward as you're doing it. You should try doing that. Try doing automatic writing.
I have tried it a couple of times many years ago, and I didn't get anything. I just got scribble, and no writing.
Fredo is asking, how do you actually make the crop circle? And you know, I was going to ask you that because I mean we've heard it before, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching that probably haven't got a clue. But
yeah,
before you do, I mean, I don't think we talked about where it began. I mean, like what made you want to start doing crop circles? I mean, what did you investigate? What did you kind of look at to say, okay, this is what I need to do to make these crop circles?
Well, a very quick potted history is I had a UFO sighting back in South Wales of a triangular shape on the side of the mountain. I then became a UFO researcher, and I was investigating a lot of cases around,
Mhm.
and started writing for magazines, and doing various lectures around the place. And then I found out about crop circles. So I went down to Wiltshire to look into crop circles, and quite soon after I was there, I think I found out that people were making them.
Mm.
But to be sure about it, I needed to kind of get in with them and speak to them about it.
Yeah.
Now, they were quite a guarded bunch and didn't want to let people in. So me and a couple of friends said, well, maybe we can make some crop circles and see whether we can do it. So we started making some very basic designs, and they were very basic because we were making a lot of mistakes that rookies would generally make if you hadn't had a few clues and ideas on how to do it.
Mhm.
And then we were able to go back to these people that wouldn't speak to us before, the circle makers, and say, would you speak to us now? And they were like, nope. And I said, well, actually, just nudge, nudge. We've actually made a couple of crop circles. It was this one and this one. And I said, oh, we wondered who that was.
Mm.
And then they were kind of like, oh, yeah, well, let's give you a couple of tips. What sort of tools are you using? And we said, well, we're using rope. And they said, whoa, no, you don't use rope. You've got to use surveyor's tape measure. And it comes on a roll, it's like this long stuff. It's got
Mhm.
fiberglass in it, and it basically won't stretch, whereas rope stretches.
Yeah.
And that was the problem, is over a long distance, we were holding a long piece of rope and it was stretching. So as we were walking and holding the tension to create a circle, that was actually causing the edges of the circle to kind of wibble wobble. And when we started using a surveyor's tape measure, almost automatically, the circles were much, much sharper and cleaner. So, and you're getting better measurements as well. It's like trying to do things with a rope wasn't very good, but you can measure out stuff a lot better with a surveyor's tape measure. So that's basically it. Is kind of like posts. You use little posts, like bamboo posts that you can buy at a garden store. You buy a
Mhm.
load of those, and you get a piece of wood, and you put rope on the end of it so that you can actually hold it on your foot, and then you can press forward. But you actually put the lines in by having somebody stand in one point, another person stand at the other point, use the surveyor's tape measure, and that person then walks around this person who's here.
Mhm.
Now, we used to turn on the ball of your foot, so you sort of turn on the ball of the foot. But again, as the person is standing upright, they tend to lean a bit that way, and then they lean a bit back that way. And it's not as accurate as actually putting a post in the ground. So you put one post in the ground, and then you hold the tape measure over it. And then that gives you a margin of error of that much.
Mm.
Whereas if you're standing there, there's a margin. You could be leaning back, you could be leaning forward, your arm could be going forward, your arm could be going back. But when you've got to hold it over a set point, then the sort of margins for you to move are a lot less. So that circle you get is cleaner. So that's basically how you do it. And then you measure around the edges a certain amount of points, put the posts in a certain amount of points, mark lines from point to point to point, and then you fill bits in. And that's the basic idea. Obviously, there's a lot more to it when you get some complicated designs, but it's a lot to do with making sure you fill the right bits in
Yeah.
the right order, so.
And when you're actually you're using surveyor's tape and surveyor's rope, whatever, and like literally a plank, right? There's a special
Plank of wood. Yeah.
plank of wood. Now that plank of wood, is it like shaped a certain way, or is it just a ordinary plank of wood?
The first ones we used were the pieces of wood you get on a pallet board.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah. So you just rip one of those off. It's quite light. And then you just put rope on the end of it. That'll get you going. But eventually we moved on to slightly better quality wood. And initially, to cause less damage to the crop, because we didn't want to leave any marks, I sort of slightly beveled the edge of the crop board so that it was curved on the edges, so it wasn't a hard line. And I even went to the extremes of putting a towel around it and then gaffer taping around the towel so that it was kind of like a spongy sort of effect.
Yeah.
And the gaffer tape would obviously, when it hit the crop, it was just a little bit softer. But we kind of dispensed with that, to be honest, because you didn't really need it. You just go for a straight board. It was easier in many respects. And they certainly get messy and wet and heavier if you've got towel on there and it's wrapped. So we went for just keeping the boards light, because of course you imagine you've got to lift that how many times you're working. So you don't want to have it very heavy, because you're repeating an action with a heavy object otherwise. So
yeah. And here we go.
There's techniques you learn as well, like to keep so you don't get knackered, you don't get tired, because we used to lift the board up in the air and lift your leg in the air. And if you imagine, you're like, when you're lifting your leg, you're lifting the weight of it. So lifting your leg in front of you, and the board with your arms get tired, and your leg gets tired. So what we do is, what we ended up doing is keep your leg straight and then put your other leg behind you. So it's kind of like that. And what you do is you lean back on that leg and the board comes up, and then you lean forward onto that leg and then stomp. So you're leaning back and forwards, back and forwards, but you're not going bend the knee and lift it up and press it down and then go straight. Don't do that with your leg, because that knackers you out. It's kind of more like a sort of leaning and moving forward as you lean, just ways to kind of stop yourself getting tired.
Tony, thanks again. Jesus. Tony's on a roll here. Thank you, sir. Again, jeez. He's really enjoying Matt's talk on how to make crop circles, man. But that's cool, man. Because and we're talking about, in case I'm sure there's people that don't know. I mean, you've made literally what? How many crop circles would you say, roughly?
Oh God, it's got to be in the hundreds. I did actually put a lecture together where I actually went through most of the ones that I could remember I'd made, and I did. I just flicked them up on the screen, and I just went that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And there was obviously a lot that I'd been involved with that were other people's designs, which I couldn't include in the lecture, because when I went to help other teams, I wouldn't really say, well, I made that one, because it wasn't my design. It would be cheeky to do. But I mean, you can imagine that I've been involved in a lot more than I showed. But there was quite a lot on screen. I can't remember now. It was probably a couple of hundred, maybe. Maybe showed 100 on screen. But yes, it's been a lot over the years. It's been a hell of a lot.
Oh yeah, I know when you look at a lot of the designs, and people just simply go, "Wow, like how?" And you went into it, but I mean, even when you explain it to people, it's just like, "Wow, that just seems so intricate that humans couldn't simply do that." Right? And like you said, they don't want to believe that a human made it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it all starts with the design.
Yeah.
And it has to be something that you can create with a compass, like a compass that you would have on paper. So if you can create it with a compass, it can be done in the field. And on my program that we had on YouTube called Circle Makers TV, and that hasn't got a space between it if you want to have a look. One of the shows, I got one of the really good circle makers who keeps in the background. He doesn't like his face being seen. And he came on and he did a number of really well-known designs, which kind of might be a clue as to who made them, as in like he seemed to just sit down and with a large piece of paper, he was like, "Do, do, 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 do." And that's, you know, a lot of people can't even do this stuff on paper. You know, they kind of look at them, they go, "Wow, that's so amazing. I can't see how it's been done." But, you know, everything can be broken down into curves
Yeah.
done from a point, you know, and a lot of it is to do with line work and measurements, but a lot of it is to do with the circles and points on the circles and measuring things out from those points, you know. So if you can do it on paper, you can do it in the field. If you design something really clever on paper, but you can't measure it at home, you aren't going to be able to do it in the field.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the way to kind of think of it. You've got to be able to do it on paper, and then that can translate into the field, you know, and not just drawing it a nice design, because that may not be possible to do. I mean, some things are quite hard to do. Free form is very hard to do because, you know, you literally cannot work out what you're doing at night in the dark. So the measurements are what keeps it correct. So if you're thinking that you can go out there and sort of like write lettering, you know, just by I'm going to do it, and you know, it's going to be a mess. I mean, plenty have tried it. I've tried it, and you know, you get the words, but I mean, they skewing off in all directions and things. You know, it never looks good. But everything that's measured out properly can look good. And I think even mistakes to the eye, as long as most of it looks as it should, a little mistake, the eye kind of can't see it.
Yep.
The eye doesn't want to see it when it's geometric. But if you're trying to do things with straight lines like fonts and lettering, oh boy, does the eye spot that, you know. So
yeah, it's just incredible. Just uh, I would love to you know, go out and quite literally build a craft circle. I think that'd be really cool. But again, you know, finding like when we looked into a lot of the cases here, we'll do that in a bit. But a lot of the cases here, a lot of them are out west. So quite literally in the prairies, you know, like known as the prairies, you know, everywhere from Manitoba all the way over to Alberta and the middle part of Canada, which is basically the farming sector. I mean, that's where all the farming is done, and the wheat fields and so on and so on. I mean, you know, bulk of the wheat is what, Saskatchewan, Alex?
Manitoba, Saskatchewan, yeah.
Yeah, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. So, I mean, what type of grain or wheat that
We would
is
probably be more ideal, I would think.
what wheat?
Do crop circles in?
Oh, absolutely. But
wheat and barley, yeah,
wheat
the
and barley.
best.
Yeah, and that's primarily what you guys were doing over there, primarily, right? Same
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Machine fields that have been done with the tractor lines, like you've got here, the tram lines. The tram lines give you something to walk in before you start, and then
Yeah.
you step out into the crop, make your first circle, and then you work your way out from there. When you're inexperienced, a lot of people tend to work designs that work down the tram lines, and this is because they don't know advanced techniques. So they kind of do a circle, walk a bit down the tram line, do another circle, but you notice things are lined up with the tram line. That can be the sign of an inexperienced team. And then what you can do is once you get good with it, you show people how to kind of not work to the tram line, and it blows people's minds that these things are just working their way across the field and they're not lined up with the tram line, you know. So that's when you free yourself, when you get good at it, you know, you can kind of work in any direction you want.
I mean, do you still get the itch to go out and do it?
I get the itch, but then my brain kicks in and says, hay fever.
Oh, yeah.
And like late nights in the dark, in the cold. And it's one of those things. I think when you've got a bunch of people and you're all chatting about it, and then you all kind of get each other motivated to do it, that's when it comes together. That's when it happens. But you know, if I was to think about doing things on my own, I would probably not do it. You know, it is a team effort, and
Yeah.
it's much better with a bunch of people. And I mean, I totally believe in the magic of it, which is why I suggest you try and do it. Because if you do it and ask for some motivation from the universe, and then ask for some protection when you're actually out there doing it, you know, then some strange things might happen, and I think you may be surprised. So that's
Mm,
why I think it's a good idea you actually try it at least a few times, you know.
gotta
And
find it.
I'll give you some advice on how to do it. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's videos on the channel of us actually doing it
Yeah.
as well. So
I was just gonna
um,
do that. But yeah, the
Beat you to it.
question there for you, Matt.
mm, I think in the UK, last crop circle was made at White Sheet Hill, Wiltshire. I think it was discovered on May the 22nd. I think there's a newer one that was in Mere, but I haven't actually seen it. I was just told about it. I've got so far out of it now. I want to kind of, because I did 20 years of it, and I kind of, I don't want to look at it because I'll either get upset by what I see if it's not up to my standards. I get
These
bitchy and I'm like,
amateurs.
yeah, you know. Um, and I don't want to kind of pay it too much attention because I don't want to get dragged back into the doing it. So I've kind of pushed myself away from taking note of what's going on.
Uh, Fredo is asking, does it cause any damage to the crop itself?
Not really. Most of the damage will come from people walking into the crop formation afterwards. But even then, the farmer is usually able to lower the combine harvester slightly, and it just picks up all the crop. And, you know, you get a little bit of damage and loss, but I mean, it's nowhere on the levels that the farmers say. You know, they say, oh, there's thousands of pounds worth of crop being lost here. And it's like, it's usually more in the level of like 20 pounds worth of crop, you know, so they exaggerate greatly on the amount they've lost. And I mean, you know, yes, okay, it's man-made loss, but farmers lose a lot anyway through to wind damage, you know, so
Mm,
they're always factoring in loss. But I mean, you know, they would say, oh well, we don't want to lose anything, you know, we don't want people coming there, you know, because they're causing us aggro and we don't want the loss. And then you say to them, yeah, but did you know if you charge people to go into the field, you could make thousands on your 20 pounds worth of crop? So why don't you try to make money? That's what you're supposed to be about, farmer, isn't it? But they don't tend to see it that way. Some do and have made lots of money out of charging people to go and see the circles. But I
it-
mean, none of that money goes back to circle makers. You know, that
no.
goes back to the farmer. So
Yeah.
they're the ones making the money out of it. You know, but some of them just don't want to get involved in that. You know, they're kind of grumpy about it, and yeah.
Yeah, so much attention. I mean, there was a point when crop circles in the UK were just like at its height, you know, garnering so much attention. I mean, I'm surprised, Matt. There wasn't a like a wheat or barley based cereal out of the UK called crop circles. You know, I mean, I'm eating a bowl of cereal. I wonder if comes from one of the crop circles. You know, but yeah,
Well, I'm surprised somebody, yeah, locally didn't actually make something like that. They could have actually arranged to have a special crop circle cereal made from
exactly.
a crop circle, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Um, yeah, it's never been done, but
Yeah,
I think they've kind of implied that some beers, yeah, some
yeah,
beers have been made by crops that have kind of originated, but I think it's probably hard to tell.
yeah.
When you get all the
Totally.
grains back from a field, they tend to go in a big silo and they get mixed in with everything else. And, you know, it's, but they could actually do it. But then,
Yeah.
you know, any radiation damage, I would not be responsible for any DNA defects in people or from drinking such beer.
Yeah, I wonder if that cereal would taste out of this world. Yeah, exactly. Hops. Yeah, so yeah, that is really, really like, yeah, I'd love to to at least try it. I think it'd be really cool. Uh, Here though, it'd be hard to. I don't know. It'd be tough to find a suitable place close by. I mean, there are some. I don't know, Alex. I mean, I looked. I didn't see very many incidents from Ontario.
I didn't even check Ontario. I checked Manitoba, but because that's another one of the prairies, and there's not a lot there.
No, most of it's in Calgary, Alberta.
Alberta. Most of it's in
Alberta.
Alberta. Yeah,
And
you
I
have
think,
like one incident in Saskatchewan, but that's
well, there's a guy. I don't know. Maybe you might know him, or maybe you've heard of him, Matt. Who he was running. He was the director of what was the name of the place? Oh, the Canadian Crop Circle Research Network. The guy's name is Paul Anderson. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
The name rings a bell, but I've not actually met him, I don't think, and I've not had any communications with him.
He does.
You
I
know.
think he takes care of something called Earth. Is called Earth Sky now, or he's something about monitoring certain things in the sky. I can't remember exactly what it is. I have to look more into it. But he was. I don't know if he still takes care of. It doesn't look like it. It kind of looks like it's hasn't been updated for a while. But again, they have a lot of the bulk of the, I guess, cases that were reported. And when you look at a lot of the cases, again, Matt, it's just I think it's what you say. It's a lot of them are primarily man-made.
Yeah, there's a guy called Chad Deatkin. Was he Canadian?
I'm not sure.
Yes, early Canadian formations, Chad Deatkin. Now, I have met him, but I think he was a believer. You know, he wasn't really interested in much that we had to say, but I have actually met him. He'd be
Yeah.
very dismissive of us, you know, and yeah.
I think a lot of, and that's another thing you've kind of touched base on that as well. Like, I mean, when you started telling people that these are actually man-made, I mean, it kind of, a lot of people kind of like, oh, what are you doing telling people that? you know
And
So,
I think Chad Deatkin is one of these that goes along the lines of blown nodes, these knuckles that you get on the plant, that when the plant turns back towards the light, you know,
yeah,
after you've flattened it, it'll try and correct itself and point back towards the sun. So the plant isn't dead when it's been pushed over, and it will actually start to grow back up. Chad Deatkin was one of these proponents of the blown nodes being microwave damage, which has come from UFOs or some sort of mysterious source. But I mean, the nodes, what's it called? It's called phototropism when it grows back towards the light, as in photo being light and tropism meaning movement or something.
yeah,
And basically, this fluid that comes out of the knuckles when the plant moves a lot and bends the knuckle, the knuckle splits, and you get yeast come out of it, and the yeast just basically turns dark. It oxidizes, and this is well known. However, you know, a lot of people in the crop circle research community completely ignore the fact that this is well known and tell people that this is mysterious and, you know, nobody knows what this is. And it's like, I wonder why scientific communities don't take crop circles seriously when, you know, they're kind of like coming out with stuff like that. Like, oh, did you know that that's a blown node that's been microwaved? And the
mhm.
research, the real scientists who know about crops are kind of like laughing at these guys, you know, thinking, what the hell are these guys on? You know,
Yeah.
so
There's people say when they're in crop circles, they feel something in the middle of it. And again, you've kind of touched upon that, Matt, where you've kind of gotten this sort of you know this telepathic sort of connection or whatever, communication with something or someone or whatever that's kind of guiding you or telling you or whatever sort of
yeah.
thing.
I've never actually felt anything strange in a crop circle. I've sat there, meditated, I've laid down, thought about aliens and things, you know, and I've kind of never felt anything strange or unusual in a crop circle myself. However, I know that the people who visited the crop circles that we created, they've had strange things like that happen to them. And life-altering experiences in crop circles. But I've never had anything when visiting a crop circle afterwards. I've had things when making them, but never actually when visiting them afterwards. So, but yeah.
It's almost like it's psychosomatic, isn't it?
Sorry, just try to stop my telly turning off. I've got to push a button. Well, I don't know if it's psychosomatic because, some people, it could be. Some people have said they've been healed in crop formations, and it could be self-suggestion. If you convince yourself that you're feeling something, then it might be a strange energy which is going to heal you, then it may actually have that effect of going towards healing you.
Effect.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Or it could be real. It could possibly be real. But there was some rather, troubling experimental stuff that was done by Lucy Pringle, for example, where she took an ECG helmet in to test people's reactions when they went into crop circles. But the trouble is, she was telling people that all these crop circles were real and they couldn't be created by people. So, basically, people know they're going into that crop circle. They know they've got their helmet on. And then if you say, well, look, when we take them into a field where there's no crop circle, they don't have a weird reaction. And then when we take them into a crop circle, look, they're getting elevated readings. Now, not very scientific, because I think the only way that would work was if you totally sensory deprived a person so they didn't know they were in a crop circle. And then you took them into a crop circle. Now, that would be a lot harder to achieve, obviously. But I think that, again, it's not exactly scientific, the way they're going about these things. So, but still, it's nice that people have good effects in them. But is it psychosomatic or is it something else? Yeah.
I mean, could it possibly, again, the creation itself drumming up an energy that is positive, perhaps?
Well, if we've been given the idea, the design, and that's come from somewhere else, and they're wanting us to do something which is going to be positive and beneficial, I'm all for the idea that these energies that may be there come afterwards, after we've put the design into the fields, because we've had strange things, like we've had a cloud has come over the field and protected us from being seen and things like this when we've been working there. And so I think there might be something there helping us whilst we're making it. But as to, the energies or weird things that happen, it may be the design, like a talisman. It may have its own magical energy. And it may be that the people who come there with their expectations and their beliefs and, they're worshipping in there, they're kind of meditating in there, and maybe that charges the thing up with some sort of psychic energy. That's a possible. There's electromagnetic effects. Now, this is slightly more scientific, because they've actually taken electrical equipment in and out of crop formations, which have been known to be man-made. And they found that when they took equipment into one that they'd just seen us make, they had the highest readings they've ever had. So it's weird, because they've gone in many formations in the past not knowing they're man-made, and they've had pretty good readings. And then when they took it into the one where we literally made it in front of them, and they had the highest readings of all. So, but it's a bit more scientific, I think, than the putting an ECG on somebody and expecting them to kind of give a real reading. There were actually readings from the equipment, which is something that you couldn't sort of fake, So there was a large electrostatic charge was present, and so there are some effects like that. And maybe people are getting something from this charge, the electrostatic charge that's there.
I think it's got to do a lot with the intent, not the intent of the individuals making the circle, but the intent of whatever's drawing these people to do the circles.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like if you're telling me that you got sort of inspired to do it just for the sake of the argument, that obviously has some weight to it when it comes to energy, whatever you want to call it. And when you do the circle, it just sort of seems like a focal point.
Yeah, and I mean, crop circles are very different to any other art form, because when you go to a gallery, you know, and you look at a picture, you might feel emotional, and you might feel empathetic, and you might even sort of be amazed by the kind of way it was painted or put down on the canvas. You know, you may be like, wow, look at that, how do they do that? You know, that's amazing. But you don't tend to get magical feelings from a painting, and you don't tend to get healed, you know, and see UFOs and have paranormal experiences. That's something quite unique to crop circles in the art form sense. So I think that the main purpose of crop circles is to turn people on. It's to actually wake people up and open their eyes and give them those experiences. And I think that if there was ever a time where we needed it, it was probably leading up to this disclosure that we're coming to now. You know, this was all leading up to, you know, so if maybe these extraterrestrials out there wanted us to do something and was guiding people to do it in a certain way with certain ideas which hold maybe a subliminal message that we don't readily understand with our frontal brain, but our subconscious brain is kind of getting something from that, and it's waking people up, just getting them to ask questions, you know, about what's out there. I think that's a good thing. You know, who cares if it's people? You know, we're all going to get disclosure at the end of it, you know, but it's kind of just pushing people down that, nudging them down that road.
Have any of these circles been drawn along ley lines? Has that even been looked at?
Yes, they've appeared on ley lines because some people have stuck them there specifically because they've chosen to put them on that line. And funnily enough, without knowing that you're putting something on a ley line, I and others have turned out to where we found out that where we've walked into a field at night, walked along and put that formation down happens to be on a ley line. And it's kind of like when you're walking into the field, you kind of think, yeah, I suppose we'll start here. This feels as good a place as any. But you don't realize that that place where you feel this is the place happens to be the place where there is an energy ley line convergence. And I even put a crop circle formation directly on the spot of where another formation had appeared 2 or 3 years earlier. And, you know, just walking into a field and choosing a random position and happening to go bang on top of one that's appeared there a couple of years before. It's almost like as if there is an energy there that we're picking up in our subconscious, in our gut, you know, and kind of thinking, because at night we're not using a GPS or anything. We're just literally walking into a field, and then you walk along how many tram lines, you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're kind of going, yeah, this looks like it's the middle of the field. And then you walk up the field, and then you think, well, this feels good. You know, this feels about right. And happening to put it spot on, you know, the location, which is, yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
You know, there's another misnomer, not really, kind of misnomer of this, you know, where people will spot, you know, these huge, you know, circles where they're in a plane down in the fields below, and not knowing that most likely those circles are just an irrigation sort of circle, right? I mean, you've seen them, right? Obviously, the big circles that they use for irrigation.
Yeah,
of the
you get
field.
those a lot in the United States, not so much in the UK.
Oh, okay,
you
yeah.
get them in Australia as well. I've seen
Here,
them.
yeah.
Canada
Yeah.
too, they have those.
Yeah. And I don't know how many times, you know, I've looked and you know, people say, you know, I spotted a crop circle flying over wherever, and it's just like, no, it's not a crop circle. Right. But I mean, you know, people have never seen something like that. They don't understand. They just automatically assume it's a crop circle.
Yeah. they're very much, centered in Wiltshire, mostly Wiltshire and Hampshire,
Yeah.
with a few spread around the country. But I mean, it tends to be in one small area of the UK, and I doubt that most people flying in an aircraft high up would even be able to spot one. You have to be quite low down and flying in a small light aircraft to be able to spot them. And even then, it's quite hard. Kind of somebody has to tell you it's in X location, and as you're going along, you're going, well, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And then, oh, there it is, bang! But you wouldn't necessarily just be able to see it unless you knew roughly where it was. Because I mean, I'm a pilot, and I mean, I used to find it very hard to find these things, even when being told where they were. And so like you're heading towards a direction, and it's like it's only when you're very close and overhead did you actually go, oh, there it is, right? Okay. So they're not that easy to notice from the air.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, more crop circles. We're going to talk a little bit about the Canadian examples. I mean, honestly, after hearing all this, and pretty much it's
there's a whole shitload over here.
There's not. Honestly, man, I was really surprised. I thought with the vast amount of area that we have here, like there's a lot of cases. There really is a lot of cases. But I mean, when you look at most of them, a lot of them are most likely man-made. So
yeah.
So I don't know. Anyways, okay, we'll take a short break. When we come back, more of this and more. So take care. Hold on a sec. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
Steve. I'm Richard Palmisano, the founder of the Searcher Group. It's a paranormal company, the oldest in Canada. I founded it in 1979, which not only makes me old, but makes me doing paranormal research and field work for just under 45 years now. I am also an author, researcher, and lecturer on the paranormal. I've written 6 books now, and I really enjoy coming on with Steve and Alex on Nocturnal Frequency Radio, as well as listening to the shows, because there's a lot of interesting guests there. I like it, looking at this stuff, because it opens your mind to other options and other alternative thoughts. And, there's always time to learn new things. So I hope you join us and come and see Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Thank you.
So let me ask you, what makes for good radio?
My 5 favorite songs all day long.
Play it again.
No.
As many commercials as physically possible.
What? No, why would that be good?
Great music, great talk shows, no commercials!
Precisely. New Visions Radio gives you no commercials, no nonsense, just the best new music and the best talk all day long, 24/7, 365. NewVisionsRadio.com.
Hey guys, Kristen here, host of the Paranormal Girl podcast, a bingeable exploration and deep dive education about the paranormal for the skeptical believer. Some of my past season topics have included shadow people, Mandela effect, demons, and UFOs. Currently, I am tackling Bigfoot. I have been sharing this journey with my audience since early 2021, and I have learned a lot these last few years. It's truly a mysterious world out there beyond our perceptions, and reality is just not what it seems. I have also, since the start, met some awesome folks like Alex and Steve, and I've really enjoyed watching and learning from them and also joining them on their show. Their guests are always outstanding, their listeners are just the coolest, and these hosts are some of my favorite people. I recommend their show to anyone looking for an intelligent and fun conversation about the paranormal amongst friends. So join me on my investigation, join Steve and Alex on theirs, and enjoy. Now back to the show. You are watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
And there you are. We need to update that. We need Matt. How would you like to be a part of that?
What? Updating what?
Our promo thing.
Yeah, I could come up with some ideas. You've done some pretty good stuff though with the AI. You know, your sort of like horns and teeth.
Oh, you're gonna love that.
Yeah.
I love Flow, but I don't know. It's just Sora. I really liked Sora because you're able to, generate. Because it was able to, and you can with Flow, but the thing is, it doesn't have your voice. It doesn't have your voice. And true movements like Sora did, but yeah, it was interesting. Flow is it's really easy to work with, and you know what? I actually, it is pretty intelligent. It's really cool. So yeah, but yeah, we
managed to hide my mic look off to the side, and it kind of disappears with the automatic AI thing. Look. So, mine does that too. I think. Hold on.
Have your background it disappears.
It erases the mic. Yeah.
Erases the mic. Oh, for you. Yeah. Let's see. I can't.
All right.
But that's not. Wait a sec. No, it had virtual reality wise. Where is it?
Perhaps if you put like a black cloth on it, so it sort of sees it as a kind of nondescript. Yeah, there we go. It's erased it. Yeah.
There. See, touching space.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's cutting into my shoulder a bit, though. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's new to me getting the mic out like this. So yeah, I'll have to listen to it, see what it sounds like now when I play this back later.
I don't know. You sound fine to me. I mean, yeah.
You just sound a lot closer than you did in the past.
Yeah. I guess closer. Yeah, I suppose so. Closer. Send me your stream link. I would, Tony, but tonight we're just having Matt on this evening, so it's a pre-scheduled show pretty much. Next time, Tony, when we have open discussions, you can definitely come in.
But he wants to ask me about the crop circles. He's like, Matthew, come on now. What have you been doing making these crop circles, Matthew?
Yeah, I want to see some examples of your crop circles, Matt.
I was looking for them actually, because I've got a folder somewhere with all the designs, and I can't seem to find it. It's probably on one of the other hard drives here, but yeah, I did have all the designs. It's possible I've got them on YouTube, as a video, so I'll see if I can find it. But
I've noticed in some crop circles, people have like sort of a trademark inside somewhere. You can recognize who made it. I mean, did you do that as well? Was there some sort of trademark that you used?
Never put a signature in the formations, but somebody I did know used to put a very recognizable mark, and a lot of people never really picked up on it. It was there.
And it's cool when it's obviously not so obvious. I mean, people literally put their initials, and I mean I've seen a few crop circles. It's like, what? It's right there. The initials are right there. Why?
Well, yeah, it was a way to kind of give a nod to people who had actually helped that particular circle maker as well. So there was like something about that little thing that they used to put in there was a sort of way of tipping a nod to all the people who'd helped him over the years. So that's all I'm going to say.
When you first kind of got into the whole crop circle thing and looking into it and doing it, I mean, was there somebody that you knew of that kind of inspired you? I know you were saying that you started their close-knit community and it was really tough to get in, but did you know of anybody beforehand?
Well, I think there are circle makers actually out there that I think were producing more complicated works than I was designing, but I did actually help out creating them in the field, so I was part of doing that, and their standards were very high. They were extremely accurate with the measurements, and I was just proud to be part of helping them with achieving that kind of vision that they had, for the design, and being part of something that's that complicated and that crazy is something that I hadn't really brought myself to kind of want to do anything that was that crazy, because it was, it was a handful really, and every team member needed to be an extremely experienced team member in order to pull it off. And I used to like going out with friends to do something whereby we kind of, we knew we could do it, and all we had to do is just put the time in rather than like challenging ourselves to the max, working extremely hard, I would be more of the type of circle maker who wants to go out and do something that's going to achieve what we want to achieve, but not sort of like take it to this new like crazy level where people are going to go, that's impossible. People could not do that. Absolutely no way. And, it would be a big leap and step up above the stuff that I would be wanting to produce, which was kind of not always the craziest, but I have been there helping with making some of the crazier ones, but I obviously can't take credit for those, but yeah.
Tip-offs, obviously, with the exploring now, when you were doing the crop circles, I mean, were you ever finding people who might have been tipped off while you're doing this and sort of catching you in the act?
Say again. Sorry, I was just looking for this crop circle stuff as
Oh,
tip-offs and getting caught in the act.
somebody watching you. It's like, well, wait a sec.
Well, there was a particular night when we were making a formation and somebody wandered in, and basically we said, "Would you like to just sit down and watch us making it?" Rather than kind of like going out and blowing the whistle. Just sit down and stay with us and watch us make it. And then you'll see, what we're doing. And they did this, and they actually went out. They were quite a well-known, researcher or a known figure in the crop circle world, and they actually tried to tell people after the fact that they watched that being made, and they got ridiculed and told like, you're lying, you're bullshitting. No, it's impossible. Like, why have you turned to the dark side? Why are you telling people this? And it's like, and I think they realized, it's not easy to tell people you make a crop circle and be believed, because they won't believe it. People are very resistant to that sort of information. So
questions being asked. When were you a crop circle maker, Matt?
From 1991 or 2, I was arrested for it in 2000. Technically, I wasn't meant to be making any after my arrest, but I did continue secretly behind the scenes. But I've made quite a few public demonstrations where the farmer was paid after 2000 to actually show people how this was done. So it did free me in a way, kind of from being arrested and exposed as a circle maker, to be able to talk about it more than I had done before.
We got the hard questions, Matt. We got the hard questions.
I'll have to come across and have a look at them.
So what did you contribute to this whole field? Making fakes when the real ones exist? Sorry, but this is annoying. Then you don't need to watch.
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, I get that a lot. So, I mean, I know where this person is coming from. If there are real ones, being in the position I was in, where we were making these big, complicated, impressive designs, the only ones that we would say would possibly be the real phenomena, if there is such a thing, were some of these ones that looked a bit messy. And maybe the original phenomena, but the stuff that was complicated designs and geometry and this sort of stuff, that was teams of people. So it's just, you have to realize the motivations of the people doing this stuff. That they're out there to create a mystical, magical art form for the people that are going to come and visit it. Now, not all of them are like me and actually believe that there's a real magic in it, or believe that they're being guided by something to do it. But a lot of the circle makers have had paranormal experiences whilst making the crop circles. So that's why I actually did Circle Makers TV, is to get these circle makers to talk about their weird experiences, to see if we had a shared kind of belief. I think most circle makers would say that they want their work to be appreciated as something that people don't know where it's come from, that they don't understand,
Mhm.
because in that mystery, in that secrecy, it allows people's minds to open to the possibilities of what it is, where it could have come from. And some of the ideas and inspirations have come from somewhere else, I believe. And sometimes we've had this telepathic connection from people who are meditating on designs as well. And, so there is definitely a paranormal element to the man-made crop circle phenomena. But actually getting people to accept that it's man-made is pretty hard. But, if you came out and saw us doing it, and then you saw everyone going in afterwards and saying, "Oh yeah, that can't be made by people," and yeah, we're getting energies from this, and this has got all the hallmarks of a real formation that people couldn't do because there would be damage and it would be bad and it would be this and it would be that. But they're telling you that that's in the circle you sat in watching being made last night, then you'd understand it, from our perspective. But yeah, it really would take that for a lot of people, because they just go, well, it's impossible. People can't do this, especially in the hours of dark, especially, with no mistakes. Well, there are often mistakes, but they're not mistakes that the public would know. You'd have to kind of know what you're looking for. But yeah. And but that's how it works.
And we kind of touched upon this. She's asking, do you think there are real crop circles?
As I said, I think if there are real crop circles, they're probably the ones that are kind of like rough, like wind damage. It looks like something's come in and just flattened like an area randomly, and sort of not in the complicated shapes, that you see with the types of crop circles that most people would call the real crop circles. Well, a real crop circle is a man-made crop circle, but if there's no humans involved, I would say that would probably be the original phenomena, which is wind damage type shapes. But people aren't interested in wind damage type shapes. They want all this kind of like high geometry and artwork. That's what they consider to be. The more complicated that is, the more that couldn't be made by people. That's the way people's thoughts are on it.
Yvonne, Matt has also said that, while making these crop circles, that he's had some sort of connection, some communication kind of guiding him. Now, where that communication is from, he's not sure. So, I mean, on a whole different level, you never know. I mean, but for the most part, a lot of the crop circles that you're seeing, have witnessed, are most likely man-made. Now, again, like Matt, are some of them guided? Who knows? I mean, we don't know, and that's the thing.
And I mean, I've had weird experiences where I've kind of got strange effects. Like, we went out one night and we could see people looking at the field that we were going to do it in, and we said, "That's crazy. There's no way we can make that formation in that field because there's people there and they're going to see us doing it." And then it's like a strange sort of wave came over me and my friends, and we said, "But it feels like we should do it." And my friend was like, "Yeah, I kind of get that feeling too." And I said, "Yeah, but that logically doesn't make any sense, because we're never going to get away with it. But I feel like we should do it anyway." So we went in and we do a little oration. So we kind of like ask the universe, and the intelligence is looking down on us to kind of give us the protection that we require, and to give this the inspiration, and to make this something for everyone to enjoy when they visit the circle, to give it energy and things, and then say sort of amen at the end. And then we carry on and make the circle. And we've kind of started doing this because of the weird things that were happening when we were making crop circles. So we tried to kind of make the making of the circle. We get everyone in, and then we do this little oration. And that helps us to kind of like charge the mental state of the people who are making the circle, to put us all on the same page, and to ask for anything that's up there to give us some guidance and protection. And on this particular occasion, fog came down over the field and stopped these people who were looking into the field from seeing us. And they said in the morning, when the daylight came, the fog was still there, and then it lifted up and the crop circle was there. Now we could see these people clearly all night long. So there was no way that there was a fog bank from our perspective. But was it like a two-way mirror? You know, from their perspective, they were seeing a fog bank, but from our perspective, we were seeing clear. Now, that's not the only weird thing that's happened, because, I mean, on another occasion, it was raining and I was getting really pissed off because it was cold, wet, windy, rainy, and, you know, absolutely drenched through to the skin, clothing-wise. And I was kind of like trudging through it, but I'm kind of like, yeah, isn't it fun making crop circles? But you kind of, the reason you're doing it is you know, like you have to finish it. It's going to be good for other people, but you kind of like, oh, you know, just smile and just pretend like it's not horrible at the moment. And I'm like, in the end, I kind of broke and I just said, oh, come on, you know, like this, I'm not, my friends are still off doing, you know, flattening and things like that. And I just said, look, come on, you know, give us a break. You know, this is just horrible. I'm just not feeling this. Please just give us a break with this rain, you know. And I didn't think any more of it, you know, kind of like carried on. And then I noticed that the rain had stopped and it had just turned to like a very fine mist, like a heavy humidity, fine mist. And I was like, oh, yeah, just stay like that. That'd be brilliant. If you just stay like that, it'd be brilliant. And then I looked up and I noticed that there was a big oval, pretty much like this sort of thing, you know, like an oval shape, but just of dark in the cloud above us. And we had low clouds, pretty much like in this photo here, low clouds, but there was a black oval above me. I can't remember if it was going that way or it was going that way. I can't remember that, to be honest, but I remember there was an oval up there. And I got a feeling it was left to right, actually. Now I think about it, I think it was left to right.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing was stuck there whilst the clouds, because it was windy, like I said, it was raining and winding, the clouds were moving and then it was just black and then the clouds are coming out the other side. So the clouds were passing this thing and it was stuck in place. Now, I would imagine that if a hole appeared in the cloud, it would move with the cloud. And within a couple of minutes, the thing would be, see ya, gone. You know, that hole would be gone. This thing stayed the whole time we were making the crop circle, and it freaked me out. But in a good way, I was like, cool. Thank you. Yes. And then I thought, well, I've got to tell people about this, but I'm kind of like, I'm sort of like, hang on, let me just kind of get my bearings with this. So I was walking to different sides of the crop circle and looking at this shape. And then I sort of went to the edge and I thought, hang on, it's raining out there. I stuck my hand outside the edge of the crop circle and rain was coming down. Pull my hand in, it's just mist. And I'm like, guys, come here. Brought them all over and they're like, what? And I said, stick your hand out there. I said, oh yeah, it's raining. And I said, yeah, it's not raining in the crop circle. Weird that, isn't it? I said,
yeah.
Look up. And they all looked up and they're like, oh my God. And I said, yeah. Feel like we're getting any protection tonight? I said, I asked for that because I was getting pissed off. And look what's just happened. Yeah. And people were amazed by it. I mean, I didn't have a reason to ever call for it again like that. But that was something that happened that particular night. Multiple witnesses. Okay, they're circle makers, you know, so they're my mates, but we witnessed it. It wasn't just something I'm making up. I could bring you those people who would actually say, yeah, they were there. In fact, something very similar happened to another circle making team because I told them the story about it. They'd asked for it and they had it as well. And I think my friend was actually on somewhere and he said, oh, yeah, that happened to us as well, because he was watching me. And he goes, do you know that happened to us as well? I went, really? He said, yeah, that happened to us too. And I'm like, whoa. So that's twice, 2 times, 2 teams had something stop the rain coming down whilst they were making the circle. And these things sound crazy, but like from our perspective, when you have them, it just instills in you, yes, this is something good. You know, you're doing it for a reason. These things that are up there are communicating with you. It's not just your imagination. these are real experiences. Remember them, because that's what keeps you going and wanting to keep going with making the circles, because it's very hard work, and you've got to motivate people to do it. And it's things like that that keep the people motivated, keep them coming back, because some of them might just be thinking, oh, it's just art. We just keep on knocking these things out all the time. And it's nice to see that people have a good time on them. But is it going to make people crazy enough to keep making loads of them again? Bang, bang, bang. It's those experiences that make people crazy enough to do it more and more. And that's why there was a lot of crop circles out there. And you may notice that there aren't many crop circles from the last couple of years, because myself and a number of others have actually stopped.
How long do they take to make? It depends on the design, right?
Depends on where you are,
what
time you can start, because I mean, you could start when it's twilight if it's dark enough, and if you're in a location where you are absolutely certain nobody can see you, you could start maybe between 9 and 10, but generally it's 10 o'clock is definitely dark. So if you're walking up into the field and you're starting at 10 o'clock, you'll probably be okay. Finish by about 4, half 4 in the morning when it's getting light. But if it's misty, if there's natural ground mist, you can work in that mist and people won't spot you. But once the sun starts coming up to a point where it starts burning that mist off, you've got to be thinking about getting out. Unless, of course, you're working on a hill, right on top of a hill where there's nobody looking down on you, and it's unlikely you're going to get somebody wandering into the field, So, and possibly, with a little bit of help and protection, like I said, with these forces that have helped people not see us doing things where we should have been seen.
And I do remember you were spotted by a farmer one time too, were you? On his field, were you spotted, or you got out of there? I remember you talking about an incident where
we got chased out of the field by the balls of light.
Oh, the balls of light. That's what it is. That's what.
We thought it was far. We went to a field. I got this gut feeling that something wasn't right, and I shouldn't be making that crop circle there. I got this feeling like because I think this is how you get the communication. You don't know why you get the design, but you do, and you don't know why you get a feeling something's not right with this. Something's not good in here, and of course you try to internalize it and think, well, that's me. I'm just being stupid. So put that to one side. Stop being stupid, Matt, and carry on. I've invited people to come and make a design. Let's go and do it. Stop feeling weird and sort of, because you're going to freak everyone else out if you say anything or whatever. So we walked into this field, picked a location, and then I noticed that people weren't coordinated. I said, well, you stand here and give me this much on the tape measure and start. And they're like, what? And I'm like, this much distance on the tape measure. And he's like, you measure on the tape measure? And I'm like, yeah, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, measure on the tape measure, and then we do the circly thing. I'm kind of like, people were acting really dumb. I was like, guys, come on, it's like, you've done this so many times. What's going on, And it's like people were acting weird, like they couldn't coordinate. And I'm like, come right. Look, here's the measurement. And I gave here's the measurement. Just do it. You stand there. You used to come do, and I had to kind of start them off. And we were only a few steps into making this crop circle, and suddenly lights came on at 3 corners of the field, like dunk, dunk, dunk. The first thought is torchlights, police, shit, we've been caught or something like that. That's the kind of shit. So the immediate reaction we always do is, when there's something that kind of like somebody's seeing you, or a car headlights might be crossing the field and they might see you or something like that, is you duck down. You just duck down below the level of the crop, and that's fine. So we ducked down, and I kind of looked around and I just said, let's get out of here, and it's kind of like, then we all ran straight across the crop. out towards the edge of the field, where it just so happened that what 3 corners were away from the road where we needed to go. So it's kind of like it left one corner that we could escape from, if you know what I mean. So we sort of like headed to the one corner where there weren't these lights. And as I was running and other people were running, we were all looking back to see what was happening with these lights. You know, were they coming in to get us? Were they actually chasing us? But I remember seeing these lights gliding very uniformly across the field. And eventually they joined up in the position where we just about ran from, you know, where we were going to start doing the formation. So they come to that point as we were leaving, and then we got out onto the road, and I left somebody with the boards, and I said, like, you stay here with the boards, we'll go and get the car, I'll drive down, I'll flash my lights and jump out of the hedge and, you know, jump in the car with the boards. So it took us like 25 minutes or something like that to walk over this hill into the nearest village to pick up the car, which is a long way away. And then we drove back over this hill, and the guy that we'd told to leave the boards and stay there was walking up the road with the boards in his hand, up the center of the road, not even on the edge of the road, like you know, not on the left or the right side. He's walking up the middle of the road with the boards in his hand, held tightly, you know. And I'm like, I sort of like stopped the car, and I said, "Oi, oi, get in." And he said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." I said, and I was, "What? You know, what's the problem?" You know, and he said, "Oh God, just get me out of here, get me out of here." And I'm like, so we turned the car around and we skedaddled out of there. But we said, "Well, what is it?" He goes, "Oh, there was screaming sounds coming from that field." And he said it sounded like banshees, like screaming women, you know, like screaming. And I'm like, "Really?" And I said, "Well, don't you think it was a bit silly, like taking the boards?" And he said, "Yeah, I wanted something to protect myself with, you know, something to hit somebody with the board if they tried to attack me." And I'm like, "Yeah, but what if we were the police coming down the road? You know, you didn't know it was us. And it could have been any car coming down that road. It could have been the police." And he said, "To be honest," he said, "after what I heard in that field, if it was the police, I would have just said, 'Get me out of here.' And I would have jumped in the police car and gone with them. I wouldn't have cared that they caught me, you know." And I said, "Wow," you know. And he was very upset by that experience. But as I say, that was going into a field where I had a weird feeling like we weren't meant to do it in that field. And that had a formation in it that appeared a week or 2 weeks later. Another formation appeared in there, and it was the most complicated design. It had lots. In fact, I tell you which design it was. It had like 100 different circles, and every single circle had a different element of weaving the center. So it wasn't like a big pattern, you know, like a big geometrical pattern. It was just like a load of circles, but each circle had a different woven pattern to the center of the crop, in the center of this small circle. And it was basically a showcase for every type of way to do it, every single way. And I thought, well, obviously, whoever gives the inspiration for these things didn't want us using that field, because that field had been picked for somebody else that had a much better idea than we were going to do. And we weren't meant to do it in that field. You know, it was stopping us from doing it. So, and that's why those 3 lights were there. And they were golden in color, unlike a torch headlight. These were golden balls of light. And thinking back on it afterwards, we said, well, if that was torches, you would have seen a beam of light on the crop. You'd have seen doing this, and you'd have probably heard people, you know, moving, and you would have seen that sort of motion of people running or moving, but they weren't. It was just spheres of light, and they just moved gently into the position where we were as we were getting out. So I think we weren't meant to make that formation in that field. So, and that's, you know, that's part of the kind of connection you get with paranormal when you're making crop circles.
I
told these stories so many times as well.
I know.
They told the same stories, but if anybody hasn't heard them,
you don't. There's a lot of people in chat that are really enjoying it, you know. And I mean, I always enjoy it, and I know you've talked about it quite a lot
Yeah.
You know, people just and we kind of we may know this, that people don't want to believe that you know, primarily 100% of these crop circles are man-made. They're in disbelief when they hear something like that. And again, it just uh, you, you know, it's like when you go into a place to investigate, like a home, and the people invite you in because they've had some sort of disturbances and they can't understand what's going on. And you know, basically, you know, you tell them, this is what's happening. You explain it for them, right? Because they don't understand, and you're laying it out, and they're like, well, I don't believe that's what it is. I was like, what do you want me to tell you? You have a demonic infestation. You know, it's like that with anything that people just don't want to let go and believe.
It is hard, but I mean, I think the purpose of the crop circles is to excite the imaginations of the people that visit them. And if it either to excite the imaginations or to give them some real paranormal effect that changes their lives and sets them on a path and keeps them going. In the same way that those experiences keep the circle makers going, the people who visit the formations are meant to have real experiences when they visit the formations. But I mean, I'm not responsible for that. I mean, whatever is there is responsible for that. And it's probably the same thing that's driving me and the others to make the crop circles and keep people going, give them this kind of crazy energy to make the crop circles, because it's required, you know, it's turning a lot of people on, you know, and they're not, I think in general, people are not meant to think that it's people making the crop circles, because that doesn't work for whoever wants people to get their minds opened and turned on. They don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want that. But I mean, for those that need to know that it's people, I'm happy to talk about it, but it's not a very popular topic of conversation, you know, and it's one that I think people prefer to forget that they've heard, you know, and that's fine. You know, if you're not ready for it, or you're not wanting to hear about the human aspect of it, then good, you know. Please do believe that crop circles are weird, because they are, you know, and go back to kind of that, you know, happy state of mind. You know, a lot of people who found out that circles are made by people it's actually upset them, you know, and they've become a little bit kind of, you know, depressed over the kind of finding it out. And I think that the point I've tried to make with them is, you know, remember that they're paranormal, even though people are involved.
Yep.
That's the point, you know. And some of these people have gone on to make crop circles themselves. So I think that, you know, kind of this information being out there is to try and kind of tell people, look, if you want to be part of the weird team, you know, that has a lot of weird stuff happen, then try making some crop circles, you know. But if you're not that sort of person, and if you can't believe that these things can be made by people, be part of the other team that thinks it's amazing and thinks that we must be government agents and we're out to disinform and debunk, and go back to that, you know, because if that's what works, and as long as you're getting that connection and you're getting that sort of weird paranormal stuff, then by all means, you know, dismiss the artists, you know, that may be part of it.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, the state of mind that one must have making these circles, and the intelligence, I think, would have to be a little bit more elevated than the common folk, because you're dealing with, you know, geometry and you know, mathematics, and you know, most people, and when they see this, they're going, there's absolutely no way a person could do that. It's beyond our comprehension to do that. And really, it's not.
Well, some people, not I've not really done this, but some of the circle making teams have literally looked at books on geometry, and they've copied those out into the fields, or adapted them. I've never done that. I've literally just sat there and looked at what looks cool, and tried to work out things that look cool. And sometimes what I'll do is, we'll get together with a group and it'll say like, well, I've got this one. Well, I've got this one. And you show your best stuff and you go, well, I tell you what, wouldn't that be good if that was part of that, the two together, like a marriage? And then you go, oh yeah, that'd be really cool, because now it's like super cool with super cool makes like hyper super cool, and it's like, so that's something that, somebody's got an idea, I've got an idea, where have these ideas come from? But if you put them together, that's the super sort of idea. But and it's, I don't know if there's hidden maths in there that is really important that somebody else is going to find. I don't know. But these things just look good, and sometimes it might embody some idea that I had. Like when I was doing something, I might be thinking about like, save the whales or something like that, or thinking about elevating, people because of a UFO, and I'll hide the UFO in there because you don't want to make it too obvious, because I think that's part of it. Is if you're trying to if you say the word UFO, everyone knows, oh, it's a UFO. And if you draw a UFO, they go, oh, it's obviously a UFO. What's much more interesting is hiding the concept of a UFO inside something that's highly geometrical. So it's kind of in there, and you people go, oh, look, kind of behind it, you see, is a UFO. If you kind of take away the geometry, see, there's a UFO. I think that's more interesting to do that, to kind of hide something in it. Even if it, even if it's just a geometric shape, but you were thinking about a certain thing when you were making it, I think it might have that kind of energy. It might have that kind of signature. But a lot of this is subconscious messages. I think it goes to the subconscious part of your brain and isn't necessarily always understood or realized by the frontal part of the brain. So, but it's all designed to kind of wake people up and turn them on, so.
There's questions. Oh, a couple questions. Before you did crop, did you survey the field first to make sure the design would fit, or is it all done out of gut feeling?
It's sometimes done out of a gut feeling, and if we've got an aerial photo of the field, if we happen to have flown in an aircraft, like I used to have an aircraft, I might have a general idea, and I might have just sort of slung a camera at the window, and you might go, oh, well, look, 12 tram lines in might be safe to do, because you don't want to do it in a field that there's patches or marks in the field. You don't want sort of like mess. So it's a good idea to kind of like scout the fields first to see what looks very clean. You want a clean canvas. You don't want any marks on it. And then, yeah, you kind of have to keep it within the confines of the field. And there have been mistakes that have happened with measurements. Like one classic one was over, wasn't it in, it was either near Clench Common, I think it was. Clench Common, or between there and, what's the name of the place now? Ink Pen Hill. Somewhere over there, and they misjudged it and came to the end of the field and they hadn't finished the design, so they had to stop. So it literally hits the fence, and then they had to go, oops. Now everyone kind of looking at that thought that was really amazing, because it's like this energy is sort of like stopped, when it got to the fence line, and it's like, yeah, because the people hadn't literally moved it into the field enough to kind of, yeah.
Ask Matt about the BBC presenter that interviewed you about crop circles. He is well known. He has well-known works
for BB.
for BP. I don't know.
BBC, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know which presenter you're on about, but I mean, I was interviewed once by, what's his name now? He's an animal presenter. Oh God, I can't remember his name now. He's slightly autistic. Chris Packham. Chris Packham.
Didn't you just post it? I'm pretty sure you just posted it on one.
Not long ago. Yeah, that's right. Wildlife. Yeah, that's right.
I remember that.
Yes, he wanted me to make a crop circle right in front of a well-known location where it was the road that was tilted, and I said, "You can't do it here. People are going to see us bloody making it in the daylight, you know." And he said, "Well, just make a little one then." So I said, "Okay, I'll sort of flatten a little bit for you, but remember, I've been arrested, Chris, and I don't want to be arrested a second time." You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to look good. But if I suppose I could say, well, the BBC told me to do it to the magistrate, and he'd be like, they misled me, Your Honour. They said, go ahead and do it, and they pushed me into doing it. And I said, it's not a good idea. And then, well, when the BBC tells you to do something, Your Honour, you kind of do it, don't you? But yeah, I didn't want to get in that position. So
yeah, yeah. I do remember you posting and watching that not too long ago. It's always intriguing when the mainstream media kind of get involved and they're looking for something. We need to find somebody to interview to like I know with myself, I've had a few people approach me and for the news or some sort of documentary. Hey, can you sort of you bring us along and show us what you do during an investigation, and how they're like, oh, this is so cool. I like this. And they kind of want to they want it exaggerated. And you're like, well, not a hell of a lot really happens. I mean, but when it does happen, then great, but chances are it probably won't happen. And they're like, well, just something small. I don't care. We need something.
I actually turned down 2 programs that I kind of felt that would have been taking the mickey out of me and crop circles in general, and I turned them down with very famous people, and it would have been like prime time television sort of things, which doesn't impress me. Like the fact that you're on in front of millions of people and all that. It's like that doesn't impress me. It's about having an opportunity to tell the message properly, without it being laughed at. And unfortunately, I mean, one of them was the guy Steve. Is it Lemon? What's his name? Keith Lemon. And I thought, this is a comedian, where everything is a big laugh, and I'm going to just feel on the back foot here, because it's like, am I going to turn what I'm doing into something that's like, ha, 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 yes, and laughs, and how am I going to do that? Because I'm trying to tell people a serious sort of thing.
Exactly.
So I turned it down. But I mean, I'm sure if I went on there, they would have had some real dirty trick jokes lined up for me, and I'd have just had, ha, 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 yes, I am stupid, aren't I? Yes, you're so funny, Keith. Yeah.
This guy's crazy. What kind of adult would be looking at these crop circles? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
It's really hard, to kind of gauge what people are going to be doing, what it's going to finally come out like when you take part in some of these things. And there was one recently I did, which wasn't too bad. It was from last year, but it was only came out recently. It wasn't too bad, it was nice. They gave me my fair share of time, and they gave the researchers fair share of time and whatnot. But that you don't often get that chance. You kind of give people an hour's worth of interview time, and they just use 3 minutes, and it's kind of like in there with all the other stuff about
It's lumped
belief
in with the good
systems and
stuff, but they take the you know, the least interesting part out. Oh, well, we don't want him to know about that. We want this.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, wow, Matt, you've been doing this for so long. Like, I mean, not the crop circle bit, but I mean, being behind, I mean, publishing, your publication and everything. I mean, doing it for such a long time. Do you think that I don't want to say the mainstream, but people and how they react to what you do? I mean, primarily now you're urbexing, but I mean, you look at what you covered before, and what you still, have your foot in, and say, hey, look at this is wow. People are more receptive to it. Do you think? Or
Yeah, I mean, it's had a massive effect. I mean, I'll come to this question about Skinwalker in a bit if you want, but
yeah.
it's had a massive effect on people all around the planet. I mean,
Mm.
you can go to people in a lot of countries, and you can kind of say, crop circles, and you kind of like draw one and like crop circles in the wheat, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, UFOs, yeah, yeah, that's right, UFOs. They kind of, if you think about something that's gone all the way around the planet and has that much effect, I mean, television shows have been made about crop circle things appearing, mysteriously when a UFO crash has happened and there's a crop circle nearby and all this sort of stuff. And movies have been made about it. It's definitely in the psyche. I mean, even for example, now since I've stopped making crop circles and there's not that many out there, but the newest film by Steven Spielberg, Disclosure Day,
Mhm.
if you look in the trailer for it, the guy is standing in a field and a crop circle forms around him. It's just, and it just
Yeah.
flattens itself, which is not how crop circles are made,
Yeah.
obviously. But, you could see Steven Spielberg is kind of like playing into this kind of like, oh, the public like crop circles. How about if we make one form around this guy, like in real time, because people say that crop circles appear like that,
Mm.
They say, I've looked into the field, there was no crop circle there. And then I look back and there's a crop circle there. And it's like, yeah, that's one we made last night. Like you just couldn't have been looking in the field properly.
Yeah.
And I swear some people like can look in and not see it. And then kind of like their eyes adjust and it's there,
Wait a second. I wasn't there last night. I don't remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's to do with the mind and psychology because something so crazy can't be there, and then the brain sort of kind of, well, it is there. Oh, whoa, it's just appeared, and it's a bit like the stories of the Mayflower, I think, went, to America and or so like South America, turned up on a shore, and the natives didn't see it until people got out of the boats and started walking towards them, and then they went, oh, who are these people? And look at that boat out there. The boat's been there the whole time, but it was so much outside the frame of what people were kind of used to that they didn't see them until the people literally got out of the boats and said, hello, and then they went, oh, whoa, where did you come from? It's been like they've been there the whole time.
And that's like a common occurrence with when out of the norm happens. I mean, you're not really processing it right away.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a sec, what, wait, double take, and you're like totally lost because it didn't process quick enough. But and then all of a sudden, did you see that? I did, but what I couldn't make it out. That was just weird.
And I wonder about like group, because I'm a big believer in telepathy and that people have a group mind. You can speak to individuals with the power of your mind, but you can speak to groups as well. And I think that maybe as a collective group, you can actually want to see something and see it, or not want to see something because it's outside of your frame of reference and not see it, or see something different. Like your brain can actually paint in something in place of what's actually there. And that's happened. There's a number of cases which talk about this. One classic one is that a missile was fired from Edwards Air Force Base, and many people all around California saw it as a missile. But for some reason, I think it was San Francisco and Portland, people were looking up in the sky and seeing the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
And it's like a seed. If one or a few people think they're seeing something, how it can move out amongst other people. So you're all thinking you're seeing the Virgin Mary. And it could be a little bit like that, with Fatima, the Fatima thing. Everyone's going there with a big expectation to see something. And it starts with one or two people seeing something, and it spreads to everybody and they all can see it, but it starts as a seed and spreads. And I think this is something that hasn't really been fully explained in psychology, because psychology wouldn't even believe there's telepathy, and we all know there is. So yes, got a long way to go with that sort of stuff. But I believe that people can look into a field, not see something, and then boom, the brain goes, I'm now going to allow you to see it.
Yeah, exactly. Did you want to hit upon that Skinwalker question?
What do I know about Skinwalker? What I've read and seen on TV. That's what I know about Skinwalker. So I probably know as much about it as yourself. My feeling on it is, though, that there's probably a portal there of some description, and it allows things to come through, which could be paranormal, UFOs, like they say, the Skinwalker, which may be a shapeshifter, or maybe kind of like an energy that's kind of picked up in that area. So there's definitely something there, and there's a lot of places like that on the planet. But interesting place. I'd love to go there and visit it and just check it out, sit down and see whether anything happens, and try and manifest something as well. I'd like to sort of like try and call it out, which is something I don't think they've really done, from my perspective, going out in fields and saying like, hey, universal intelligence, come down, or can you give us protection? I would be interested in getting a group of people together, all focusing mind energy on calling these things out, and seeing if you can actually manifest them.
Yeah, it's definitely I mean, regardless if you believe or not, just like a lot of this stuff that's highly unknown or whatever, but I mean, in this case, probably mostly known. There are still elements that maybe we just don't know. And again, like as you mentioned, Matt, the whole telepathic sort of communication that you're receiving, that can like be better explained, but I mean that's something that maybe we'll understand later on. And again, finding more people to talk about that and say, hey, have you had this experience when making a crop circle? I mean, these guys don't readily come out of the woodwork and talk about making crop circles, do they? Even to this day, do they?
Sorry, I was reading the comments. What was your last thing you said? People
I mean,
don't do it
that's
till this day.
I mean, a lot of these guys that make crop circles don't readily come out and admit it.
Not readily. Some of them prefer to see their work as art, and they believe that it's best kept secret because that's the way it works best for the phenomena, as in, whatever happens with people, weird experiences, whatever comes afterwards is best served by it not having been stigmatized as being a man-made, so most crop circles fall into that category because nobody really goes out there and claims their formations. I mean, there's very few. I mean, I decided to do it because I was kind of coming to the end of making them, and I thought, well, I'll put my finger on some of these historical ones, but not the biggest and the best, because they weren't mine, to start with. I mean, I might have been there helping, but I'm not going to demystify some of the crazy great ones, you know. But I thought, well, I'll just sort of say, well, these were me, you know, and then I can kind of let this go, you know, because I'd given it 20 years of my life and a lot of energy and effort at no remuneration, you know, just a good feeling, you know, from being part of something really good fun, you know, and magical and weird. But, you know, it took its toll. You know, I'm really glad now that I've stopped.
Yeah.
I miss the magic, but it takes a hell of a lot of hard work to get to that magic. You don't have it all the time.
No.
You know?
No. Yeah, there is that period. Yeah, there's that period of really enjoying and the feeling that you got doing it. And you can't, I don't think, ever are able to sort of recapture that moment once you've spent the time in doing it. I think that's like that with a lot of things. I know I've kind of felt the same way about investigating the paranormal or whatever. And yeah, it just there's that moment in time in your past that you're like, oh, great, but it's not the same anymore. It's not,
Yeah.
because you've learned and you've experienced, and again, you've put the time in, and it's a lot of time and effort, and it's exhausting, and you know, there's all sorts of elements that sort of work against you, and you know, it's like, yeah, it's time to move on, sort of thing.
I put on
Matt,
weight since not making crop circles. I can tell you that. Put on weight. It used to keep me fit.
yeah, exactly. That was awesome. What you know what? Thanks, Matt, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Always great talking with you, man.
That's okay. No problem.
You know, always appreciate you having you on. Next Sunday night's our last episode for this season. Season 18. Wow.
Yeah.
God. Oh, season 18.
So you're gonna both of you gonna take all your clothes off.
Yeah.
You know, for the end reveal. It's gonna be the reveal show.
So basically, you've given away the oh man, Matt. We were thinking about we were actually thinking about manifesting the Great Burrito Demon.
As long as that's all you manifest. YouTube don't like other types of manifestations, especially with no clothes on.
Exactly. But anyways, guys, thank you for popping in and you know, being a part of the chat. Thank you to all the new subscribers, and please like and subscribe if you haven't, and leave your comments in the comment boxes, and so on and so on. And yeah, till next Sunday night, we will let you know what's going on through the week as to what's happening with the last show. We're going to keep it secret until, you know, midweek, maybe something like that. I don't know, whatever.
Steve's going to show you his big secret.
Guys, take care, enjoy, and remember, stay strange.